All right, guys, how's it going? I'm here with my buddy Jim. He's got a channel, Living Overseas TV. We hooked up. We're out here in the provinces in Leyte. We're just here chilling out, having some coffee. And we were like, you know what, we should turn the camera on and just have a conversation about life in the Philippines. Jim's been traveling all over the Philippines now for, how long have you been traveling?
Well, I've been
Southeast
traveling
Asia.
full time for 8 years.
Yeah.
And Philippines, I've probably spent a total of 2 years, if you added all the time together, 2 years.
Right.
So there's been a couple times I've stayed 6 months straight.
Yeah.
And a lot of, shorter trips, 3 month
Yeah.
trips. So
Another thing we have in common is we're both from the Denver area.
Denver, Colorado.
Right.
That's right.
Right. It's great. So we're just kind of sitting here chatting, and one of the things that came up is I'm kind of newly out in the province, and I've been in the Philippines 2 years now, and the first year I was pretty much in Cebu, and this last year I've done a lot of travel outside the city, and now moved full time in the province, and just I thought we'd talk really quickly about some of the differences between the city and provinces, and what are some of your experiences in your time? Yeah.
I think the magic in the Philippines really happens in the provinces and out in nature areas. And immediately you go to a larger place like Cebu, Dumaguete, somewhere, Iloilo, some place that's got infrastructure, they've got a mall with a lot of restaurants that you can eat at. It's a great way to acclimate to the country and get used to it. But I think that what really is nice is when you get out to these smaller towns and the people are friendly, you get a little bit of that rock star treatment, where somebody will stop and ask to take a picture with you just because you're a foreigner and unusual. You get that kind of interest, where people are looking at you. So you may not like it, you may like it, but you're close to nature. Nature in the Philippines is really good. So you got the friendly people that are easy to connect with, easy to have a conversation with, and you got nature close by. And those are two of the best things for me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you nailed it. One of the things that's there for me as I've been out is that experience with the locals. A lot more engaging, a lot more curiosity. I think in the past year I've been in Cebu, people are like, you've seen a lot of foreigners there. So, but you can still have that in Cebu City. I don't want to, you just have to get away from these smaller expat bubbles that exist there. I think another thing that's there for me as I get out, I think of in the States, right? You got city life versus country life. But there's a really big difference here, I feel, in the country living. I think no matter where you're at, it seems like there's always people around. As I talked earlier, we're both from Denver, Colorado, right? You can get in the backcountry of Colorado and get completely lost and not see another soul for days and wander around. Here, there seems like there's people everywhere, which I kind of like as a solo traveler exploring this country. Like, I don't ever feel like I'm in a situation like I could be in the backcountry of Colorado. I'm learning as I kind of discover the Philippines and the culture, but I'm quickly seeing how much I like the areas that are less populated by foreigners. Not even just less populated. I really enjoyed my time in CDO, which is close to 1 million people. I've really kind of enjoyed that. What are some other things that you've noticed about provinces versus city?
I think probably the hardest thing coming to a province is the lack of infrastructure. You may, like this town, you've got a handful of restaurants that are comfortable. This may be the only coffee shop that's got air conditioning and a cappuccino machine.
That's right.
So your choices are very limited. Maybe 1 or 2 restaurants with air conditioning.
Totally.
So you're really going to be limited. It's going to get old fast. Accommodations are going to be limited. The place I'm at, it's $1,200 a night, so about $20. It's clean, it's nice, it's got a comfortable bed, only cold water, shower. So, your options all of a sudden are decreased.
But I was going to add to that, though, it's a lot cheaper, though, because of that.
It's cheap.
So if you're on a budget, the nice thing about the lack of those choices is it really kind of puts you where you need to cook at home. I mean, when I was in Cebu, I ate out almost 3 meals a day. Now I eat out sometimes no meals a day.
Yeah.
So that is a big, and I shop more in the markets, so I have access to fresh foods and fresh fruits and veggies and that. So that is another, while there isn't as many choices out here, it can also be a pro too, depending on if you're looking for more affordability or really healthier living in some ways. But, no movie theaters out here, none of that, right?
And one thing I've done in the past is, because I've tried to eat healthy,
Yeah.
but I've actually been places where I bought my own coconut oil.
Yeah.
I brought it to the restaurant that I eat at every day. They learn how I like my meals, and they keep my ingredients. They'll use my butter that they keep in the refrigerator,
Right.
and make my food the way I like it.
Right.
And and they'll do it. They'll be happily to do it if you're eating there every day.
I travel, when I'm traveling on the road, Jim,
Yeah.
I bring my oatmeal with my chia seeds and my dried milk and my oatmeal.
Yeah.
I also bring my coffee.
Yeah.
So,
I get it.
so I
get
can
it.
relate. I can
Yeah.
relate.
And trying to find yogurt is something that's really difficult in the Philippines.
It is. You brought up another thing that I think is a big factor in this kind of city versus province dynamic, which is housing. Completely. I think to me that is one of the more obvious ones that was there right away. Is in Cebu City, guys, it is so easy to find accommodations, right? You're traveling, you see this high-rise condo, you walk in, there's probably a dozen or so units there that you can rent easily. Here, not the case. In a lot of cities, not the case. For me, what I've found in finding housing here, a lot more challenging. My girlfriend here really located the place we're in now, and she found that through Facebook Marketplace. What's your deal on
Well,
what you've seen?
I think there's something that a lot of foreigners don't realize, is that it's not an internet culture here, especially if you're trying to find a deal. That and if you go to Cebu, you'll find people that are professionally renting out condos,
Yeah.
and they've got them furnished for foreigners, and that's their main business.
Right.
When you get into the province, you're not even going to find somebody that knows how to put an ad on Facebook Marketplace. So
Right.
you've got to go and ask around.
Yes.
And somebody's got to call or go knock on doors and track it down.
That's right.
And that's how it's done. So
Yeah.
you've got to get into that world to find a place. And the other thing too is we're very accustomed to a society where the landlord takes care of the place and has it
Yes.
ready for you. And here you're more likely to have to get it fixed the way you want it and flip that bill yourself.
So
But
true.
if you're paying $100, $150 a month, I know people that rent beachfront places that are big for $250.
Beautiful.
But then they had to add an air conditioner themselves.
That's right.
But if you pay $700 to have an air conditioner put in and you're staying there for a year, is a great investment, and you can walk away from it if you want. It's not that big of a deal.
So
But
true.
a lot of times you're going to have to pay to get the place up to your standards of living and not expect that from the landlord.
Yeah, no, so true. Yeah, I would say to me, housing is one of the key major differences between city and province living is what's here. I like my quaint little province apartment right now. And just like you said though, we've had to really kind of dump in a lot of cash and time. We painted the walls and all that stuff, but it was fun for me. I actually really enjoy the
and
process.
if you're going to be there, if you're going to keep it a while, and the thing is, you can get a place like yours and spend
right.
$1,000 a year,
Right.
for a place that, and if you got to put a little bit of money into it,
Yep.
$300 to get it set up the way you want it to move in or something, that's not a big deal.
Another thing we talked about earlier, Jim, too, that could be a factor when you're talking city versus province living is the access to like healthcare and stuff like that.
That's a big one.
Yeah, as I'm looking at it, you really want to be a healthy individual. You're not rely a lot on the medical systems out here. I mean, we just went to the dentist, so there's stuff like that. And there is a hospital nearby. But yeah, I would think for people who require, whatever, monthly medical services or things like that, the provinces might not be a good fit. Yeah, what's your thought on the medical side of it?
It probably depends on the one, but for me, medical care, even in the big cities, isn't that great.
Right.
If you're outside of Manila,
St. Luke's and
your options go down a lot if it's something serious.
Cebu's got a little bit. I actually was really. I signed up for a service called Maxi Care, They're not sponsoring me or any of that stuff, but I was actually really impressed with that service. I walked in and saw a doctor within minutes, got my blood work done and things like that. And that was pretty primitive as far as the infrastructure, but yeah, and if I was going to have open heart surgery or cancer or anything like that, I would want to probably go to St. Luke's in Manila or back to the United States. Yeah.
Or Thailand or Kuala Lumpur or Singapore.
Yeah.
You know, you've got some of those places have stuff on par with the United States at a fraction of the cost.
Good to know. Yeah. Kuala Lumpur you brought up, right? That's
Yeah.
a really good option. And it's also an easy place to get to from here.
Yeah.
It's a great base.
And then I think another big factor on the province is how far you are, how rural you are. Like right now, there's a 3-hour ferry to Cebu City
That's right.
from this town.
That's right.
So that's not that
easy.
big of a jump, one trip a day. Then you've got Tacloban, which is what, 2.5, 3 hours
That's right.
bus trip. And there's an airport there that flies to quite a few locations in the Philippines. So from there you can get to Manila, Cebu, Davao, Siargao. You know, there's a lot of places
Absolutely.
you can go to. Palawan. So for a 2.5-hour bus ride, then you can hop on a plane and get to another location for a trip. So those are some of the factors that I would take into consideration, because you can get into the provinces where it's going to take you a day just to get to an airport where you can fly somewhere else.
It's a good point, and it was one of my strategies when I was looking at this region is how far can I get back to Cebu City? It's really easy. I've got several options to get back there, and I think that's critical too when we're talking about what type of province that you're going to be in. How quickly can you get back to some of these major resources? Ormoc is just over an hour away also, and it does have little upgraded medical services as well as four ferry options a day back to Cebu City. So I think that is key as we're talking about living out in the provinces, is how quickly can you get back to the city if needed. Yeah, what else is there for you, Jim, around that topic? What do you think of?
I think one of the kind of interesting things is when you first look at a province in a developing country, it could be culture shock if you're not used to seeing it. But as you start looking closer, you can start seeing a lot of the charm in it. It feels to me, and a lot of the times, in my mind, the way I adjust is I think, oh, it's kind of like going camping.
Yes.
I've got to reset my expectations and not expect a Hilton hotel.
Right.
You know, but if you're saying, is this on par with a Motel 6, you know, you might be more, you know, that's where you're kind of, you know, hoping for. And then I think when you're walking around, you think of like, not is this like the United States, but how is this compared to the United States 40 years ago?
Right.
And start looking at the charm of that and how it's a step back in time when things are less developed. And you can kind of get into the swing of it and enjoy it. And I think that's one of the things that if you start thinking, wow, I just had a step back in time and development to a simpler place in life. And then if you see how happy the people are living in these situations and how they really know how to have fun and enjoy life, and you say, hey, I'm going to go out to the karaoke place and have a beer and watch people sing.
That's right.
You know, and you can kind of enjoy it. You know,
It's why I moved here, Jim. You really talk about, for me, that was the number one reason to move here was the people. And I love that dynamic, the friendliness, the openness, you know, the hospitality. I don't know if you could find it anywhere else in the world, but yeah, it's really beautiful, really powerful out here.
Yeah.
Big fan of the Philippines.
Yeah.
Well, we're starting to get full in here, so there's a lot of background noise, which I'm sure you guys can probably hear. So we'll cut the video off here. Dude, really appreciate you hanging out and chatting. Always great seeing you. Living Overseas TV.
Yep.
Check out the channel, subscribe, like, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. And remember, feed the good wolf. Campaign.
Cool.
Yeah. Oops.
I think we hit a lot of the good points quickly.
Yeah, I think so too.